Uncle Scott's Kitchen. It is a great day here at Uncle Scott's Kitchen. Why? Because we get to review a brand new frying pan. This one is a De Buyer French-made stainless steel lined copper, part of their Inocuivre, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, series. 12.5 inch, or a really big frying pan. It just came in. We're going to get this thing unboxed, go through its stats and features, then we're going to cook a bunch of food and see if this is a frying pan that's well deserving of your hard-earned money. Who knows? Let's get started. Now, having purchased several De Buyer carbon steel pans before, if you buy a carbon steel, it comes in a paper bag. A robust, nice paper bag, but still a paper bag. The copper, you get a box. Wow, good looking pan, good looking pan. I haven't cooked a darn thing in it yet. That feels like a real deal frying pan. Inocuivre. Am I pronouncing that correctly? I don't know. Okay, so let's jump in and get to know the pan. Now, copper is known for its good looks and even heating ability. Let's start with the looks. Man, this thing is a good looking pan. I noticed that it's so shiny, anywhere I touch it, I leave a fingerprint. Now, in a few minutes, we'll see why that's no big deal, but when it's brand new, it kind of worries me a little bit. That's going to go away here in just a minute. It's very, very shiny. Now, how shiny is it? It's so shiny that when I'm trying to focus the camera on it, the camera tries to focus on the reflection that's reflecting off the surface rather than the surface itself. Here you can see me taking pictures of it. Very, very shiny pan, very beautiful. Okay, it was really bothering me not knowing how to correctly pronounce the name of this pan. I reached out to De Buyer and just asked them. They were nice enough to send me an audio file. This is about as official as you can get. Here is how you pronounce it.
Inocuivre. Inocuivre.
So that's about as official as you can get. Maybe it's best I don't even continue to try. I don't know. And thanks to Eric from De Buyer for sending that audio file. Now let's run through some stats and get to know the pan's features. It weighs in at almost 5.5 pounds. Pretty darn heavy for a frying pan. Now, the copper pan does not have a helper handle, but any heavier and it would really benefit from one. Now, it's 12.5 inches from edge to edge, about 23 inches from tip to tail, and you get about 9.5 inches diameter of cooking surface. And if you remember your pi r square formula from high school math, that works out to a little over 70 square inches of surface cooking area. Now, the copper itself is 2 millimeters thick. Here it is compared to a Maviel pan that I have. The Maviel is 2.5 millimeters thick. You can't actually tell a difference in the thickness. Besides the obvious difference in thickness, the other difference here is cost. That extra 0.5 millimeter, it might cost you $100 or so more per pan to get that extra 0.5 millimeter. Is that worth it? It depends on the budget you have, but if you're buying a big set of pots and pans, that could easily cost you $1,000 for that extra 0.5 millimeter. Now, these are 90-10 copper pans. That 90-10 is important because that means that the pan is 90% copper and lined with 10% stainless steel. So if you're getting copper cookware, I think it's important to look for that 90-10 just to make sure you're getting true copper. Now, purists and pro chefs often like copper pans lined with tin. Tin has some non-stick properties, but it's a lot fussier and more prone to being damaged by heat or utensils. It can melt at less than 450 degrees, a temperature which you might hit on your stovetop. Along those lines, De Buyer has a heat chart that shows the optimal tasks for each of the pans in its lineup. This pan is listed for medium heat cooking, not high, so we won't be doing a high heat sear test today. The pan arrived flat, no warping, and it's well balanced. Now let's take a look at the handle. It's cast metal, very solid and sturdy, and attached with 3 rivets. Here you can see it compared with the handle on a De Buyer Mineral B Pro carbon steel. So there are definitely some differences in shape and style on the handle. But it's solid metal, it has a good feel to it, feels very sturdy. For reference, here it is next to another copper pan that I've been using for over 6 months now without polishing it, and has a nice patina to it. Now, unless you clean and shine your copper on a regular schedule, your pan is going to develop a patina like this over time, and I like the way the patina looks personally. Okay, that's enough looking, let's do some cooking. Now we're going to start out simple so that we can check the performance of the pan. Then we're going to work up to some fancier dishes, maybe some that are a little bit more intricate. I've been using this pan heavily for a couple of weeks now. The first thing I cooked in it was fried okra. I put this big pan on a small burner, and I note that after the oil heated up that I was getting very even cooking. So big pan, small burner, but still getting good sizzling out towards the edges. So it seems like the heat is transferring very nicely through the copper. Okra browned up nicely. I ate the entire plate while standing there. I think they should serve this at movie theaters instead of popcorn. And we're off and cooking. Now remember how I was worried about a fingerprint or two? Look at how much the copper changed just from cooking one time. It's taken on a little more of an orangish tone, the color has changed, and the bottom has funky patterns where it's set on the grill burner. Now I want to cook some bacon, and what I'm doing here is trying to check the even heat distribution of this copper. What I've done here is again use the smaller burner, but put the pan off center so that the flame is only under the right side of the pan. Now what I was hoping was that the copper would be almost like running an electric current through there that would be the exact same everywhere. It wasn't quite like that. The flame was under the 3 pieces of bacon on the right, and after the pan heated up nicely, I was getting sizzling all the way out to that farthest piece of bacon on the left, but it was definitely sizzling a bit more on the right. Now that was kind of an extreme test. I did a few more pans of bacon on medium and larger burners, more appropriately sized burners for the pan, and got nice even heating and sizzling from edge to edge. But I think the moral of the story there is, even though it's copper, you still have to pick the appropriate burner for your pan and what you're cooking. Cooking chicken nuggets for my son. Only thing I note here is that it holds 15 very easily without crowding the pan, and that would be 5 for the boy and 10 for old dad. Biscuits and double bypass sausage gravy. Now the French have their 5 classic sauces. Where I grew up in Alabama, if we had our classic sauces, one of them would be sausage gravy. Here I am starting with a pound of ground sausage, get that broken up, start that browning, it browns up nicely and evenly. Then I remove the sausage and you see some nice sticky bits left on the bottom of the pan. Now is it just me or are fat pigs not so fat anymore? When I was little we cooked sausage, there would be a pan of grease. There's not much grease in the sausage these days. So what we're doing here is adding some butter, then in goes some flour, get that kind of toasted and cooked up for a minute or two. Then in goes some cold milk. Then we whisk, whisk, whisk and add more milk until it looks right. Bring that up to a simmer. Back in goes the sausage. Slather that over some biscuits, and I think I'm just going to go lay on the couch for the rest of the day. Delicious. Next up, taco burrito night, starting with a supermarket pack of ground beef. You know, it already looks delicious. Going to brown that up. Nothing too fancy with the cooking, but a couple of notes on the pan here. I moved down to the electric flat top in the man cave, checked it for warping before we cooked, and after I cooked, still flat, no warp, no wobble, no spin. So that's a good thing. Second note, burrito night might sound a little bit ordinary, but I did level these burritos up by making some homemade tortillas, which I cooked up on my De Buyer carbon steel crate pan, which I reviewed a few weeks back. So that thing has actually become very heavily used around here, so we did level up the mundane burritos just a little bit. Another thing I like to do early on when reviewing a pan is cook some breaded zucchini and squash. I like cooking these early on when reviewing a pan because I can distribute them around the cooking surface of the pan and see if they cook at different rates. If they cook significantly differently in one part of the pan versus another, I'll know if I have a hot spot or not. Now at first I thought I was getting a little bit of a hot spot, but what I noticed is that if I turned the pan, the hot spot moved. Turns out on the burner I was using on my stove, it's back near the backsplash, and with the exhaust fan on and the air conditioner on, the airflow was taking the heat just a little bit more towards one side of the pan. So if I rotated the pan around, the hot spot would move as well. So no hot spot on the pan, hot spot on the stove. But for 18 grand, what do you expect? Okay, let's try some eggs. Here I've got some butter in the pan. I'm gonna do a 3-egg omelet. In go the eggs. And it's actually not sticking. The omelet is sliding around. I get my fillings in, get the eggs turned over onto a plate, and I think it did pretty well for an omelet. Now immediately someone's going to say, well, you're using a lot of butter, of course it doesn't stick. Exactly, that is the point. I don't want it to stick, so I use fat, I use butter. Plus, butter tastes delicious. So for the proverbial fried egg test, I could never get an egg to slide around like a hockey puck, like I do on a carbon steel skillet. I prefer the carbon steel there. Now, I got the eggs to release and I could turn them with a spatula. I think that's what they call a first world problem. I just never could get that hockey puck effect. So with the eggs, it did okay, maybe not the greatest, but then again, it's not a non-stick, it's not a carbon steel. It's a stainless steel and probably not gonna be my go-to egg pan anyway. Fresh tomato and pasta sauce. Simple recipe here. Heat some olive oil, in go a few crushed garlics, some red pepper, in go some fresh tomatoes, and red alert. Okay, here's a good place to stop for a couple of safety tips. Looking closer at the video, what happened here was I had rinsed those tomatoes a half hour earlier, didn't realize they were still wet, and ended up pouring probably a tablespoon of water into hot oil. That immediately turned into steam. It took some olive oil with it, and cooking on an open flame, it flashed up. Now the pan had only been on the eye maybe a minute and a half. The garlic was not burnt, and the oil was not smoking. This really illustrates that copper does heat very quickly, and the pan may get hotter sooner than you realize. Now, they say to never cook above medium. I thought I had this on medium-low. Apparently, I should have gone all the way to low. Second, when adding food to hot oil, double check that it isn't too wet, else that moisture can turn into steam and flash up. And remembering that pan chart, I checked again, and this pan is okay to use to flambe. Thank goodness. And I just looked it up. Flambe is indeed French for no eyebrows. So I kept on cooking and everything turned out delicious. Even made this dish again the next night for my wife. Thankfully, no fires. Okay, before the big grand finale cooking test, let's take a look at the cleanup and patina just a little bit. Now, my wife cooked a big meal the other day. She used this pan to brown up some bacon and onions. But let's take a look at what's left in the pan.
Oh, Lord.
So this pan was left overnight for me to clean up. I don't mind doing that. I clean up most of the pans around here. I tend to baby the pans and take meticulous care of them. So what you can do here that you can't do with cast iron or carbon steel is soak the pan. We're going to soak it with some hot water and dishwashing detergent for about an hour. Scrub that really well, and you notice that practically everything comes out. Now, when I cook bacon, that tends to leave a little bit of that weird bacon shiny film on the pan. The way to get rid of that is to hit it with some white vinegar. Rub some white vinegar around really well. All that stuff comes right out. Give it another wash and it's good to go. So I would say cleanup is moderate, not nearly as easy as a non-stick, of course. But then again, it's not like a carbon steel where you have to immediately dry it and apply protective oil and do any kind of seasoning. So moderate cleanup. Now let's take a look at the patina. Here I had used the pan about 10 times. Notice how different the pan looks. The metal seems to have even changed color. Now I'm using some copper cleaner to shine the copper back up, and notice how it changes back to its original state. Now some people like to try and keep their copper shiny and new looking, but I have found that once I start using a pan, it will never look absolutely new again. And that's okay, because that means my pan is a working pan and I've been cooking in it, it's not for show. So with my other copper, I tend to just let the patina develop, which I think has its own charm and beauty as well. Okay, now for the grand finale cooking test, Provencal pork chop. I really like this recipe. I think it shows off what the pan can do. I'm starting out with some Yukon Gold potatoes. I cubed those up and had them soaking in water earlier. I bring some olive oil up to heat in the pan. I make sure the potatoes are dry. In they go. We cook those for about 5 minutes. They won't be done, but they're starting to brown. Now you scooch those over, and into the pan you put in 3 nice pork chops. So we got potatoes in one part of the pan, pork chops in the other. Brown those on both sides. It takes 5 to 6 minutes. Then move those pork chops on top of the potatoes. Turn down the heat a bit, and in go some aromatics, some thyme, some black olives, some capers, some garlic. Let that cook for a bit. Then in goes some white wine. Start deglazing, getting those nice sticky bits off the bottom of the pan where the meat had browned. In goes some tomatoes, and unlike with carbon steel or cast iron, you can add acidic ingredients like tomatoes, no big deal. In goes some stock. Bring that up to a simmer, nestle in the pork chops, and cook everything until the pork is completely done and the sauce has reduced a little bit. Now what I like about this dish for testing the pan is that we had lots going on. There were temperature changes. We used multiple foods in the same pan. We browned meat, we cooked potatoes, we added aromatics, we added acidic ingredients, added stock and deglazed the pan, reduced that to create a little bit of a sauce, and then some slow simmering at the end. A lot of things going on. The pan did very well at all those tasks and the food turned out delicious. Now, other than washing itself, what more could you ask from a frying pan? Okay, the De Buyer
Inocuivre.
Stainless steel lined, copper, French made 12.5-inch frying pan. That was a mouthful. This is a real deal French pan. I really like it. We cooked a lot of good food with it. It's beautiful. I feel like the cooking you can do with this pan is at a level up here. Maybe my cooking skills are down here, but if a frying pan can be inspirational, this one is. It's kind of inspiring me to learn new techniques and cooking skills and kind of up my game a little bit. Good looking pan, cooked a lot of great food with it. I give it an unhesitating thumbs up.